Internal reflection and self-exploration can be one of the most difficult things we all have to do from time to time, but it allows us to realize our mistakes and hopefully learn from them, change direction or path, and try to do better next time. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, and I've made many regarding my street photography. But the idea is not to attack myself or others out there, but to share some of the mistakes that I've made and mistakes that I see others doing as well that can potentially help people on their creative journey. Hi, my name is Jorge. Welcome. On this channel we merge creativity and productivity to try to live a more fulfilling life. It's almost embarrassing to think about all the mistakes that I made over the past 3 years, but it does give me ammunition to talk about my experiences and to point out the mistakes that I see other people making as well. This video is not focused on the technical aspects of your craft. We'll talk about that, but I fundamentally disagree with videos saying that the main thing you're doing wrong is either composition or exposure or things like that. Your creative journey is the sum of many variables, and that's what I would like to talk about today. So here's some of the mistakes that I made with my street photography and some of the mistakes that I see other people making as well. Let's get started. Fear can be paralyzing, especially at the very beginning of your creative journey. My first couple street photographs are just terrible. I was afraid of interactions, I was afraid of trying something new, and I was afraid of people as well. My first couple images were of random objects or wide shots where people can't see me, notice me, or confront me. Images where you don't know what the subject is, or the point or the reason for this photograph to exist. And if you like capturing images like those, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I knew right away that those were not the images that I wanted to capture, and I was just afraid. But it's not easy to overcome that feeling. I would walk around and find locations or spots or moments that I wanted to capture and just do nothing, let them pass. However, going home at the end of the day with no images or only bad images truly made me feel worse. So the self-exploration part is really important. For example, let's say your street photographs are captured with a 90mm lens or a 200mm lens. Then, self-exploration requires you to ask yourself, do you really like it? Is it because of the framing, the results, the compression, or is it because you're too scared to get close to a subject and you need the safety of a 200mm lens? And to be clear, there is nothing wrong with shooting street photography with telephoto lenses. If that is what you like and what you enjoy and what makes you happy, then knock yourself out. The important thing about this example is to ask yourself the tough questions and be honest with your answers. Not to me, not to anybody else, but to yourself. If you only shoot street photography with, let's say, a 200mm lens because you enjoy it, it makes you happy and you like the results, that's great, I'm happy for you. But if the only reason why you do that is because you're afraid of people, interactions, conflict, and getting called out, then you are doing a disservice to yourself. In other words, you are getting in your own way. If you already know that you might have some reservations with people and interactions in general, then start with a 35mm lens or a 50mm lens equivalent in full frame. It will give you great results and allow some separation between you and your subject. A 28mm lens required to get even closer and compose accordingly, so keep that in mind. So, after doing some self-exploration, I realized that I needed to start thinking about street photography in a different way. I wanted to improve and get closer and still be respectful to others and respect their personal space. It took years, but I was able to overcome fear and get better results as well. I'm completely against photographers to just shove cameras in people's faces and behave as disrespectful as possible, almost like a game of how far can they push it. How far can they take it before conflict inevitably occurs? There's a lot of people encouraging that sort of behavior, especially here on YouTube. They usually call it things like sneaky techniques and whatnot. Just remember, it comes down to your values, your preferences, and your principles. No matter what, everybody out there, yourself included, deserves respect. And behaving in a childish and disrespectful way and then washing your hands when you're confronted about it and just say that street photography is just the dumbest thing you can do. It really reflects who you are as a person and your values as well. It's like going on a date and the person treats you well but treats all the waiters like trash. It really reflects who they are and their values as well. There is a balance to be struck between being afraid, not taking action, and worrying too much about what people think about you, and on the other hand being disrespectful, stepping on others for fun in the name of street photography. There are ways to get up close and personal and take candid street photographs without being disrespectful. and that can offer great experiences and can help you learn a thing or two about photography as well. But sometimes, even if you do everything right and you are respectful, conflict can still occur, and people can tell you simply to not take a photo of them or to even ask you to delete a photo that you just took. I mentioned this in my everyday carry video, but I always carry my sample photo book with me and show it to people that ask me why did I take their photo or ask me to delete it. And more often than not, people feel reassured when I show them my work and I show them that I put effort into my images. And they usually feel relieved that I'm not some sort of psycho or pervert taking photos of them, and it suddenly becomes a positive experience. They compliment my photos, they ask me questions about the locations that I've been and the countries that I've been, things like that. And you are completely missing the point if your only intention is to behave as disrespectful as possible. This is the most common topic or mistake that you see people mention in their videos and articles about photography. And although I don't like to zone out in just one thing and say composition is all that matters or exposure is all that matters, there is no way around it. Learning and mastering the technical aspects of your craft matter. Let's really think about this for a moment. In street photography, you don't control the weather, the lighting, the subjects, or their actions. You cannot conjure a great moment out of thin air. None of those things are in your control. But you do control your settings and your knowledge of your craft. And mastering the technical aspects allowed you to make decisions and take control, and most important of all, capture the moment, create memories. That's why we take photographs to begin with. I already made a video about my most important aspects of street photography, and you can watch it right here. But things like exposure, composition, framing, focusing, all of these things play an important role in your craft. But even after you master your settings and your technical aspects, or you think you have mastered them, you can still fail. Life is really good at teaching us things and giving us reality checks that perhaps we're not as good as we think. Take this photograph for example. I love almost everything about it. The composition, the exposure, the colors, the aspect ratio, and even where the subjects are standing. It was all in camera. Not cropping in pose, not changing exposure, nothing like that. Feels like a shot from a film, which is always what I try to achieve. But it's extremely obvious that I messed up the focus. My subjects are out of focus, and it does not matter if I nailed all the other technical aspects, missing the focus ruined the shot. It does not matter if I exposed the image correctly, if I did a good job framing it or not, if I shot in RAW or JPEG. None of that matters, the shot is ruined. Even when we think that perhaps we have enough experience and we know what we're doing, life can still teach us a lesson or two about humility. Pay attention to your exposure methods. Do you shoot in manual mode or aperture priority mode? Do you shoot with manual focus lenses or do you use back button focusing for every shot? Do you frame your images with the optical or electronic viewfinder? It does not matter to me which one of those you choose and which one you prefer. Just make sure that whatever method you chose, you can control it and you've mastered it. So yes, learn the technical aspects of your craft. Do your best to master them. Practice them over and over and over again. That is the only thing we can control. The settings and the knowledge of our craft. Everything else is just beyond our hands. I personally think that if you want to be able to capture life around you, then you need to be able to observe, to pay attention to the little details and absorb as much as you can. And this became really obvious to me when I moved to Japan. Everything was new to me. Every street, every avenue, every car, every train, every shop, every smell, every restaurant, absolutely everything. And I realized that I needed to take a step back and be able to observe and pay attention to the little details, make time for my craft, and practice it a lot. Nobody's telling you to take a step back and not take action or be a background character in the film of your own life, but sometimes we do need to take that step back and just observe life as it happens. And this becomes really obvious in places like airports, where you can observe a wide variety of feelings and emotions and moments. So I do think that you need to be able to observe and identify these key moments and be able to capture them and create memories as well. This mistake is incredibly simple but very, very important. If you want to do street photography, then you need to start right now. I've made a video about a book called Make Time, and you can watch it right here. I've read YouTube comments and watched videos about other creators and read articles about people saying that one day they'll like to try street photography, that perhaps it looks like fun. If street photography is something you're not interested in and you don't want to try it, that's fine. There is nothing wrong with that. But thinking that someday, eventually, perhaps, maybe you'll give it a try and see if you like it and maybe continue to do it, is just very, very silly. It is extremely important to understand that in that case, you are getting in your own way. You are the only person preventing yourself from experiencing different things and perhaps finding a new hobby or a new joy or something that makes you happy. And like I already mentioned in a previous section of the video, I think the most common reason for it is just fear. So, in the words of the greatest modern philosopher, Shia LaBeouf, just do it. So those are some of the mistakes that I have made and that I see other people making as well. There's a lot more mistakes to cover, but those are the main ones that really speak to me. As always, I'm curious to know, what do you think? Do any of these mistakes speak to you? Or do you have any other mistakes you would like to share? Share your thoughts in a comment down below. But that is it for today's video. If you found this video helpful or valuable, please like and subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and join my free newsletter as well. Thank you very much for watching, for giving me your time and your energy, and good luck with your creative process.